Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developpreneurs, with your hosts, Josh Earl, Derick Bailey, and John Sonmez, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
Hey, Josh Earl here with a quick message from our sponsor, Signal Leaf. Look, doing a podcast is a lot of work. The last thing you need is a podcast hosting service that makes you jump through a bunch of hoops just to get your episodes published. My co-host Derick created Signal Leaf with one goal in mind: to build the easiest podcast hosting service out there. It's the simplest way to get your new podcast up and running quickly and without any hassle. If you're thinking of starting your own podcast, just use Signal Leaf. Then you can get back to polishing the lyrics for your own official podcast rap song.
Whenever I unplug my laptop from my monitor, because I have the 27-inch Thunderbolt monitor, and it's got the Thunderbolt docking station built into it, basically. Whenever I unplug my laptop and plug it back in, it forgets that I have a webcam. Okay. So I have to unplug my webcam and plug it back in, and then it works.
Technology, making your life easier by making it more difficult.
That's right.
I forgot about today. I was like, what? Ready for what?
Good thing I reminded you.
Yeah, good thing. I've been hacking away at my book trying to... I had some... There's a little bit of feedback like that the financial and the fitness chapters, like on the appropriateness of them. So I'm sort of putting in like, why do you need to know about the stock market and options? Like if you're a software developer, so I'm kind of adding like that to say like, here's the thing is it's like people don't understand the stock market and options, and if you do, you're going to have a better financial mind in general.
Right.
It's not like even if you don't trade, like this thing is, it's a concept. And plus, hey, it's fun. Like this is something that a software developer would be interested in because this is kind of the fun stuff. This is like your brain is built for algorithms and things like this. So
yep.
We'll see. But on the fitness side too, I got to think about some of it too, because it's like some of the feedback I got was like, oh, the basic stuff is not very good or we don't need the basic stuff. Just give the stuff that applies to a software developer. But then I'm like, well, if you don't understand the basic stuff,
Right.
then you're not gonna like, like if I gotta like say, okay, this is how like your body digests carbohydrates and how this whole basics of fitness and nutrition work. Otherwise, like the other stuff is just voodoo.
Right.
Yeah. It sounds like maybe just a little setting it up better.
That's my plan. Yeah.
May also be one of those things where you take some of that content, like if that intro content is lengthy, try to reduce it down to something small just to get the point across, and then say, for more information, go read this blog post that I wrote that has all the details that you need.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. My thinking with the book too is just because it's broken into so many small chapters. It's like rather than cutting the chapters, I'm going to tell my editor to say, let's I'll preface them so people understand why this is here, and then they're small chapters, so just put them in. If people want to skip certain chapters, let them. But I mean, I'd rather have a big book.
Yeah.
Like it's different when a book is like long, big chapters, because then when you have extra information in there, it's boring to read. It's like, but the whole idea of this book is it's like take from it what you need and skip the stuff you don't need. So.
Right. Cool.
I will never be done with this thing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the editing part goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How long that drags on.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty much, I've gone through now the whole book, like from end to end, and added stuff and like taken I'm just doing a few more feedback pieces, and then once that's all incorporated, then I'll be sending it out for the third review, and then essentially the editing is like the main editing of the manuscript is done. Then it's just copy editing on the the grammar, the like whatever
cool.
the
right.
So
do they do most of that for you, do you think, or do you need to? Will they like mark it up and they do it?
I believe they do it all, and then they put notes where they don't understand or where there's a confusion or
Okay.
Yeah, all of the editors that I've worked with, they typically use like the track changes feature in a Word document, and they'll go and actually make all the edits, but they'll leave track changes on.
Yeah.
And they've always asked me to go through and accept every individual change so that I do basically just to approve the changes that they made, so I know what changes they made, so I can, when they do have questions, I can answer their questions, rewrite things that need to be rewritten, things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they typically do make the actual changes, but I have to go and approve them.
And then I've got, like, for visuals, I've got, like, notes that I put in that say, like, create a visual like this. So apparently Manning, their graphics team, like, does the visuals. So
Oh, nice.
that'll be good. I don't know how long that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and it's, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
How about you guys? What's going on with you?
Well, short week since we're meeting on Wednesday
Yeah.
instead of Friday. But I've had more than my share of stress and horrible crap happen in this short period. It's been pretty awful.
What happened?
Honestly. So, well, first good thing, I guess, is I got my Stripe accounts migrated for Signal Leaf. It's on a completely separate Stripe account now, and that seems to be done and working well. I've had charges from my Signal Leaf customers come through and everything. And in the process of doing that, I also fixed a bunch of my Stripe integration with Signal Leaf. Apparently, I'm an idiot and don't realize that an array is an object that does not equate to false in JavaScript. So my Stripe integration was not working for the last, I don't know how many months. So I had to go through, and after I migrated all of my accounts over, all of my customers over to the new Stripe account, I had to go through and audit all of my individual client accounts, customer accounts, to see which ones were past due, which ones were canceled, which ones were still active, and then go through my database and manually update them, which, not a huge deal. At the very worst, a few people got a couple of extra weeks of their podcast being served. But whatever, not a huge deal. That was more just tedious than anything else. And I got it all fixed, so it's automated again. But on the horrible side of things, so Saturday night, I'm sitting at my desk, and I get an email alert saying Signal Leaf is down from the monitoring service I use. And so I start looking, and I find out that it's the database that's down. And so I email the support people at the database service that I use, and they get back to me pretty quickly, like within a couple of minutes, saying, yeah, one of our Amazon servers tanked, and we're having to rebuild it. So they go through the process of rebuilding the server and everything, and it comes back up about half an hour later. Well, not a huge deal, 30 minutes of downtime. But in the process of talking with them, they advised me on getting a fault-tolerant database set up, which in the process of looking at what was going on with it to begin with, I came to that same conclusion. So previously I had a really cheap, like $15 a month database that was large enough but not fault-tolerant. It was a single instance database that was, a single point of failure. So when that node went down, my entire site was gone. So I was like, all right, let me fix that. Let me upgrade to a fault-tolerant replica set with MongoDB. So I did. I migrated my database over Saturday night, and I spent like 2 hours trying to get Signal Leaf to work on this replica set. And it turns out that Mongoose.js requires a very different configuration connection string than MongoDB normally does when you have a replica set. So I basically gave up on that on Saturday night, went to bed, got up Sunday morning and started working on it again. Sunday morning, I created a replica set copy of my production database, and I set it up for my staging environment so that I could work on it and play with it and get it working and everything and not worry about the production server going up and down. Because the production server was back up, it was running on the the single node instance still, and it was working, but I wanted to get this migration done. So I spent a couple of hours, got it figured out how to format the connection strings properly and handle a development environment that has a single node versus a production environment with a replica set, and got all that done. And I went to do the real migration for the production database. I was going to migrate that into a replica set by doing a clone into the new replica set. And I saw that I still had a previous replica set in an old account that I was shutting down with the database service, and I wanted to kill that old replica set because I didn't need it anymore. I had my production database, and I had my replica set.
Danger.
I know where you're going. I've done this before.
And when I clicked delete and typed in whatever they wanted me to type in to confirm the deletion, and I clicked OK, the moment that I clicked OK, I realized that I had just deleted my production database with all of my live data from all of my customers' podcasts. So full-on panic mode. I mean, freaking out, face going pale, adrenaline rushing. I feel like I'm going to vomit until I realize, after a few moments of that panic, that I had made a clone of the production database into my staging environment an hour earlier. So I cloned my staging database into my production database and deployed Signal Leaf against that new production database, and everything was back up in a few minutes. But man,
that's a good lesson. I do
what
that.
What a horrifying experience.
I've done the same thing, but I have to drill it in my head. Clean shit up at the end.
At the end.
Because I do the same. I've done the same thing you've done. Not the database, but like deleting files or something, and I'm like, crap. I just deleted the thing I needed.
And with code, I've got source control, so usually it's okay.
Yeah.
I was that close, just infinitesimally close to having to email all of my Signal Leaf customers saying, "I'm sorry, your podcast is gone."
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That would have been awful.
I hope you have backups of this.
I do now.
No, I mean, like you have to email people and say that.
Yeah, I hope you have a backup because I didn't, because I'm an idiot. Wow. So that was almost disastrous. So from that, of course, now I have a replica set database server in production. I didn't actually lose any data, which was good either, because I went through my log files from Google Analytics and checked for that period of time in between creating the staging database and cloning it to production, and nobody had gone in and added any new episodes, no customers signed up or anything like that. So I didn't lose any data. The only possibility of lost data would have been the few minutes where people were trying to hit podcasts and the database was down. Yeah. So, not a big deal. Your stats are going to be a few lower because people couldn't get an episode, but no big deal. It's all good. I didn't lose any tracking data other than that or anything. So that's good. And from that, of course, I also have a backup in place now. I have the database running on daily backups. So at the very most, even if something does crash, I've got the replica set failover, and if all of that crashes for whatever reason, I've got daily backups, so I can, at the very worst, lose 1 day of data instead of the entire system worth of data.
Yeah.
So, but of course, that's costing me about $200 a month right now, which is a little painful. I did, however, manage to reduce my costs on Monday. I went through, like I said, over our email group and reduced a whole bunch of the services that I'm using and got rid of about $180 worth of services, which is good. So that's basically paying for the new database structure and backups. Still waiting to hear back from that one podcast, though, about their excessively successful podcast.
Yeah. You haven't heard anything at all?
No, I haven't. I'm going to give them until next week. I'll email them next week sometime, follow up, and say, hey, did you guys have a chance to think about this? I need to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
for having a horrible week, that was. I sent out that email on Friday, so that was like the beginning of my hell weekend. That was I'm considering that to be like the second most awful email a SaaS would ever have to send to a customer. The first most awful email being, I lost all your data and we're shutting down. The second most awful being, you're far too successful and costing me too much money. I love what you're doing and I love what you're about, but I can't keep you around because you're costing me too much.
Yeah.
That's like the email that nobody ever talks about. Everybody talks about firing the toxic customers, the people that make your life hell, the ones that complain all the time and refuse to be happy with what you provide. That's easy. You're a horrible person. You should feel bad. I'm going to fire you as a customer. No problem. Nobody ever talks about having to fire the guy that you love because he's using your service more than you expected and costing you too much money.
Yeah.
So do you have a good sense now for what your monthly expenses are with that?
I do. I finally have that nailed down. I'm spending $350 a month pre-S3 charges.
Okay.
And so with the S3 charges at around $600 a month, I think it's going to hit close to $700 this month.
Okay. So that's your break-even point, right?
Yeah, $1,000 basically. And if I can either recoup the costs of S3 or migrate that one podcast to another host where they can absorb the cost from them, that'll reduce me down to probably close to $500 a month, which is getting me a lot closer to being profitable.
Right. And so you've only got you're making what, like around close to $200 a month now?
Yeah, pretty close to that.
Okay. So that puts you like $300
right
away. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad, yeah. And if I continue down the path of marketing myself as podcast hosting with a helping hand, I think that's going to go a long way. I really like your idea, Josh, of partnering up with some of these people that help you do the marketing aspect of podcasting.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I need to start putting together a list of those people. The smaller names out there, not like Cliff Ravenscraft, but the smaller names out there that will be more likely to partner up with me and recommend my service as somebody to go to help you get your podcast off the ground.
So as I've been looking at these WordPress, the WordPress managed hosting thing, I'm noticing like a lot of them offer a additional like a migration package.
Right.
So that could be another way to tackle this. Like we talked about doing, like just a bigger cost up front.
Right.
But you could have like still offer the same base service, but then have the migration or setup package.
Right.
Where you help them more than you might otherwise.
I like that idea.
Yeah, for $100 or so.
Yeah, like a one-time fee of $100 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, I already have a migration tool. I've actually migrated, I think, about half a dozen podcasts from other hosts into Signal Leaf already. I don't advertise it right now because it's still a work in progress. It's an automated tool that I have to manually run. There's configuration and parameters and things that need to be in place before I can run it.
I like that description.
Yeah.
It's an automated manual tool.
Exactly. So it's basically a command line tool. I don't have it set up so that you, as a customer, can execute it by configuring it, by logging into the website and saying, go migrate my podcast. I don't have that set up yet.
Right.
I'm still in the get it working for all scenarios phase. Every time I do a migration, I run into a new edge case that I need to handle. It's basically what's happening. So it's not yet ready for anyone and everyone to use. I still need people to tell me, hey, I need you to migrate this podcast. Okay, no problem. Let me go run it in my test environment first, make sure that your podcast migrates okay, and then I'll run it in the production environment.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mentioned the webinar thing too in the email. Is that something that you're interested in? Does that seem like a good fit for your personality?
It does, actually. I mean, I do a lot of public speaking anyways with conferences for developers, so the trepidation that I have with that right now is more along time and simply confidence at this point.
Right.
I need to go through a few more customers, helping them get set up before I really have the confidence that I can talk about these things in front of other people as a webinar type thing. And I'm actually going to be doing that this afternoon. A guy that signed up with Signal Leaf a couple of weeks ago, he's got 2 or 3 episodes of just him talking, and he's wanting to get set up to do interviews. So I'm going to be helping him this afternoon, and we're going to go through Skype recording and Hangouts on air like we're doing, and look at some of the options and figure out what works best for him. Cool. So that's of course I'm doing that all for free for him, partially because I know the guy, partially because I need the experience of helping people through this, and having him to run through all this with will help me a lot in the confidence area to be able to put a webinar together.
You might be like, if you were able to partner with some of these people. So the people I'm thinking of are like the kind of the branding coaches,
right?
Like here's kind of like what John's doing, honestly. Like here's how you do personal branding for freelance developers or real estate agents or whatever. And part of that they recommend is doing a podcast. So, so if you can find a few of those people, I mean, they're going to probably have pretty big lists.
Yeah.
And you could probably team up with them and do to take some of the pressure off. You could start by having your part of it be just 15 minutes at the end or something.
Right.
Like here's why you do a podcast. Here's why it's beneficial. And then you kind of come in at the end and do like an overview of how to get it up and running.
Yeah, all the basics, which I could totally do that. Talk about how you different file formats and RSS feeds and iTunes and other things like that. Just give people a quick overview and show them, a very basic run through of how Signal Leaf can do all that stuff for them.
Yep.
And then of course posting it in a blog with WordPress or Tumblr or whatever else.
Yeah.
Definitely good ideas. Now it's a question of time.
I think that's a way. I think that if I were you, I'd be probably looking at that more than AdWords at this point, just because it doesn't cost you anything. And I mean, AdWords isn't bad to start experimenting with and running some experiments and stuff, but
and I'm reading that Perry Marshall AdWords book, like I mentioned before, and I'm spending $5 a day on AdWords, which I'm okay with right now, and I'm getting a few clicks. I've had like 25 clicks in the last week and a half, or however long it's been. So I'm getting multiple clicks a day, and I need to continue reading the book and continue going through and tweaking things. And I'm thinking, I made those headline changes that you suggested for what you see when you hit signalleaf.com, and I'm thinking I'm gonna take that blurb with my headshot and make that a real landing page that I use for my ads.
Okay,
and
that's a good
I'll
idea.
have similar info and link to that landing page from the home page, but I want to have the home page more focused on the casual, I'm just checking this out kind of person, where I have a video of how Signal Leaf works and what it can do for you, and I have my latest episode from the Signal Leaf podcast on there, and I was actually planning on recording a video this morning and another podcast episode this morning, and I realized that I have far too many things that I need to do before I leave town tomorrow. So I'm basically spending the day preparing to leave for a week and a half instead of doing the Signal Leaf things that I want to be doing.
The landing page idea sounds really good, though, because that will let you can get rid of a lot of the distractions, get rid of the navigation. You know, it can just be really simple. Sign up, and then you can measure that. Yeah. Like otherwise, it's kind of like what are you even really hoping that people do? Like, do you want them to go to the pricing page? Like,
Exactly. I've been looking at my homepage for the last week, tweaking it, and I just keep going. What? I mean, what? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I want me to be doing. Looking at this, it's a wall of information that isn't coherent. Each individual piece is nice, but it doesn't tell a story like I need it to. Right. It doesn't get you to engage the site the way it needs to.
Right.
And so what I'm thinking for the landing page is start with my blurb about how I'm, the host with the helping hand, and then from there, do the whole thing from that email a couple of weeks ago or blog post, whatever it was, where you have high value, low cost action up front.
Right.
And my high value, low cost would be either watching the video that demonstrates Signal Leaf or listening to an episode of my podcast where I talk about getting started with a podcast, which was the episode that I wanted to record this morning. I want to talk about, at a very high level, the things that you do and don't need to start a podcast, and really focus on the things that you don't need, because I see too many people, I need this. No, you need a laptop and a microphone, and chances are your laptop has a microphone.
Turn tables and a microphone.
That's right. Where it's at. So that's the direction I want to head with that landing page. Is that high value, low cost engagement with the site, and then a second call to action right below that, right after you finish it, to encourage you to actually sign up for that starter package, like you were mentioning, Josh. That's a really good idea.
So I've got an idea for why don't you do? It just occurred to me you should do an email course. A free giveaway email course on how to start a podcast. You can target at people who are thinking about starting a podcast.
Right.
You've already done the format already, so you already know how to get this going with Drip or whatever.
Yep.
Do like a 7-day email course that basically makes someone believe that or not makes them believe, but shows them how easy it is to set up a podcast. Right, and you just take them step by step and break down all their barriers about why it's difficult, and make them feel confident that yes, they can start a podcast, yes, they can do it. Explain to them, the whole, walk them through the process, and then at the very end, then say, and here you can sign up for Signal Leaf and get started today. Now you know how to do it all.
That's brilliant.
That might work out well, because I think you'll be able to, if people see how easy it is, right, then they're going to be much more likely to. So you might actually be able to convert people who not that haven't already made up their mind, but you're going to actually get customers. Like, you're going to be increasing the pool instead of drawing from it. Plus, you already have experience in this, and then that's something you can target your Google AdWords at, is getting emails to sign up to there, which is going to be a lot easier conversion.
Quick red flag there. Google does not let you drive traffic to any kind of page where you're trying to collect an email address.
Really?
They'll ban you. Yes. That is super annoying. I actually pinged them recently on their chat to confirm that, because I'd seen that on Warrior Forum, like some of the internet marketing forums, and people were complaining that Google would ban your account if you directed traffic to a squeeze page, and that was what their support told me. It's ironic because they call it they directed me to a page where they talked about their information harvesting policy. Google is the biggest information harvester in the world.
They don't want competition.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I do think that is part of it, that they don't want people collecting email addresses because it reduces their dependency on AdWords. I do think that is part of it.
That might be. Well,
but still,
there's still ways to do it.
Lead gen cards.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right on with what I need to do with that, John, because I've been wanting to find a way to get rid of that 25% written ebook that I started back in December. I need to get something else in place, and that 7-day course would be great. I've got most of the information in that book already. I can reformat that
Right.
as the starting point of the email course, take that ebook down, put the course in place of it, turn some of that course, some of that ebook into blog posts, which will get me back to blogging again, turn some of it into the email course, and turn some of it into another giveaway, because I have a couple of checklists, podcaster checklists for how to record and publish your episode in that ebook, and I could turn those checklists into giveaways as well.
The other thing you could do with it potentially too is either in the course or after the course, you could send some emails with some affiliate links for some of the gear that you recommend as well, which, I mean, on Amazon it's not going to net you much, so maybe there's a better direct affiliate that you can sign up for some of these things, but still, it'll still be some extra revenue that you'll generate.
Yeah, if somebody buys a $90 Blue Yeti, that's like $7 profit for me for sending somebody a link. I mean, that's a pretty good deal right there. But yeah, so I was along with the email course, one thing I could do to really make it interesting and hit home with the whole idea of podcasting is inside of each episode or inside of each issue of the email, have an actual podcast episode link where I am essentially reading the email to you, describing, talking about whatever that subject is.
Oh, that's interesting,
as a supplement to the email. So, okay, here's the email, and if you want to listen to the podcast episode for this, click here and go listen to it. So it reinforced not only what they need to do, but also that, hey, this is a podcast. You can podcast this kind of stuff.
And as you selling your personal service as part of this, that will be a bonding thing.
Right.
Yeah. Like hearing your voice.
A lot more personal, make that connection with people.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
I like it.
I really like these ideas. I think this. So I'm gonna I said I'm gonna be out of town for the next week, but I'm gonna have a lot of downtime while I'm out of town. So these are things that I can definitely work on while I'm out of town.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, you're not that far. I mean, from honestly, $300 would be what, like
30 customers.
30 customers. I mean, you could get 2 or 3 good webinars, or get. The other thing would be to work with those same people to try to get them to promote your email course.
Right.
Versus you could do Twitter ads and probably do okay with it, but I wouldn't put any more money into advert. If it was me, I wouldn't put more money into the hole right now because you need some psychological help, some wins here, and
definitely
pouring money into it is not going to help necessarily.
Right. So on the money side of things, I'm doing better now since I've stopped throwing money at sponsorships.
Yeah.
I paid a round of bills this morning, and I was actually surprised. So let me back up 2 steps. I have not yet received my consulting payment for the month of June. I was supposed to get it yesterday. We got slammed while we were there at my client office, and I totally forgot to ask for it. I mean, it's entirely my fault. So I was nervous about paying my bills this morning because I thought, oh crap, I didn't get last month's check yet. I'm not going to get it until close to the end of the month. I'm probably going to have to take more money out of savings to pay my bills. Well, I got through my list of bills, and I was able to pay everything without having to dip into savings. And I still had enough left to put $2,000 onto my credit cards to help start paying things down. Nice. So total win for me there. And things are not as dire as they were a few weeks ago when I was still overspending on sponsorships. So I'm already looking positive. I know I do have a couple of large bills that are looming, but I also realized this morning that I'm a month and a half ahead on my mortgage bill. So that's good because I got to skip paying mortgage today.
Yeah, that's good.
So that saved me quite a bit on my bills this morning.
Nice.
But yeah, so things are moving in the right direction. I'm still like close to $20,000 in the hole on credit cards between my personal credit card and my business card. Most of that, it turns out, is on my personal card. My business card is coming down faster. I'm putting more of my business income into that than anything else. So I'm on the right track. I think after another month or two of continuing down this path, I should be confident enough with my income to be able to just pay off the credit card debt out of my savings, and then get back to building my savings like we talked about last time.
Cool. Awesome.
But I don't want to do that yet because, once is an anomaly. 2 or 3 times sets a pattern.
So one thing that has really worked well for us, and this is more just kind of general. I just like talking about this because it was fun to set up. So I've figured out how to we basically automated all of our finances.
Right.
So what I do is I get paid regularly. So this is a little different for me because I have the full-time income.
Right.
But I signed up with Ally Bank, which is I love. They're really, really great. I had a local bank, and their online banking was awful, and their customer service was terrible. Ally has been amazing. So I have opened up. I basically have set up a virtual cash envelope system where I know exactly how much of my bills. So I went through a whole year's worth of bills, figured out all the expenses I have at irregular times through the year, and divided those by the number of paychecks. And I stick a certain percentage of my income in that account, and then I have all those bills auto draft out of there. Right. Same thing with monthly expenses, and then like we have some other accounts like giving account. We have like a savings account where we dump. It's like a money market account where we dump all of our savings. Right. I basically we just kind of log in a few times and check it a few times a month. But it just kind of runs, and I don't have to think about it. Yeah, it's really nice. I don't ever pay. There's like 1 or 2 bills that I have to pay manually, but everything else and we broke it up that way so that we wouldn't. Well, for one thing, we didn't want anybody to be able to get our checking account and drain $40,000 or something out of it, and then start then have all these automated transactions start to bounce. So I've isolated all of them. So if anything were to happen to one of the accounts, all the other ones would be protected. Because I've had my debit card stolen several times. It's a pain in the butt. But yeah, that's worked really nicely for me. It probably saves us a few hours a month of manually doing stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I do something similar. I mean, I've got all my bills automated with the auto draft, and then I have set it up before. Like I was using ING, which had that same thing before they got bought by Capital One or whatever.
Oh gosh.
They had the separate accounts, like you could say. I still have a new car fund that $200 automatically every month goes into that fund. It's like a reverse car payment. It's for the future. Before I need a car, but that works pretty well. But the other thing that I've done in the past, I don't do it as much now because I don't have to worry as much, but is to, like, when you have irregular paychecks, like you do as a consultant or entrepreneur, you can still make it regular by paying yourself like a regular salary or amount. I mean, it doesn't have to actually officially be a salary, but basically, essentially, like you say, you have where all your payments go into, and then at the beginning of the month, you automatically draft like whatever you're paying yourself, like $5,000 or whatever, into there, and then from there, then the automatic. So then you have a budget that's enforced, and some months you might be under, and some months you might be over, but you're just like pulling out of there, and then whatever doesn't get pulled out of that source is sort of like your ongoing savings or buffer. And then you've kind of made it so that you've enforced a budget of X dollars per month, and then if you've put that into a separate, then it literally stops you from spending above that without some kind of exceptional circumstance. But so there's ways to do that.
I've been sort of close to doing that for a while. I need to formalize it to do that though. But I have a friend here in town who ran a consulting business for about 5 years. And he did exactly that for the first 2 years. He put all of his money into a business account and paid himself whatever at the beginning of every month out of that business account. and he never once went back to his business account to see how much money was left over. He let it do its automated thing.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years, when he started getting really busy and needed to hire some additional subcontractors and employees, he went back to his business account and looked at where it was, and he had, like $300,000 or $400,000 sitting in his business account.
Nice.
So he was able to expand his business pretty dang quickly because he had enough funds to pay for full-time developers to join the team.
Right.
And then once they were on board and into the pipeline, he just started bringing in that much more money. Did really well for himself doing that.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd advise not knowing what the money is. Not
it's like the ultimate
in some way, but.
Right.
When you find $20 in your jeans pocket and you gotta put them in the wash, it's like the ultimate version of that.
$30,000 in my jeans.
I stash. I don't know about you guys, but I stash $20 bills everywhere. I've got a $20 bill. There's certain rules I have. There's always a $20 bill in my car, right?
Yep.
Stash. There's always a $20 bill in both of my backpacks. I just make sure that there's
John's
always
gonna have these shady people following him around now. Okay, his right shoe. Grab his right shoe now.
No, because when you're out, when you don't have any money, you forget your wallet or something. I've always got that I know there's that emergency $20 bill.
Right.
A little trick. But one thing that I found too with the whole budgeting is I've tried different things, right? I've gone down to the whole mint, right, and measure everything and I've had these spreadsheets with budgets exact.
I've tried that so many times and I can't do it.
I quit doing that because the thing is, you don't want to waste. It's nice. The anal retentive part of you says, "Oh, I know exactly where every dollar is being spent." But sometimes you waste so much time tracing where every dollar is spent that you could be using that time to make money.
Right.
So my theory started to become, let me just make so much money that I don't care.
That's actually valid.
It is.
My wife and I talked with a financial planner about 10 years ago when we were having serious financial problems.
Yeah.
And the financial planner asked us what our income was and wanted to know what we had for a budget. And when we told her what our income level was, she looked at us and said, "All right, you guys are just spending money stupidly. You don't actually need a budget.
Right.
You make so much income that you shouldn't have to worry about this. Stop spending so much money."
Right.
Exactly.
It's oh.
Yeah. I think that's for me, that's the point where budgeting is kind of useful, or at least, some form of budgeting is basically when you're at that point where you're first learning, and I'm not saying you guys were at this point, but a lot of people just kind of, they're just free and loose and they never think about any of this stuff. Yeah. Until they have a huge problem. At that point, you really need to get serious, and I think that is where being really anal retentive about it for a period of time is useful to get an idea, get an idea of what's actually going on. And then we did that a little bit when we were working on paying off our college and stuff, and now now we just have we have these buckets, and we know, all right, we're going to take X dollars out of the income folder and put it into the the joint checking account. Yeah. And we just don't worry too much about where that money goes. Well, but we don't go beyond we rarely go beyond what we transfer automatically into that account.
Yeah. See, there's this interesting thing also that I think I call it somewhat being there's points where it makes sense to be frugal, and then there's points where it doesn't make sense, right? So when you're a college kid just starting out, right, or you're making let's say your income is $50K a year, right? At that point,
it means 8 years to get there.
Well, okay, so it's 40K a year or whatever, 30K, right? I mean, the lower it goes, the more important it is for you to have a budget, and not only to have a budget, but to to not go and eat out, and to use to do all the smart things, to be very, very careful, sleep on the floor on a mattress, as opposed to buying furniture. This is a smart decision at that point. It actually is. Buy the used car. Buy
a used car. Period. I don't care how much money.
Well, the like the oldest, like an older used car, like borrow furniture, like buy stuff on Craigslist, like all that. Like I would totally give that advice to someone in that situation, right?
Right.
And then even as you go up, like if you're making like $60,000-$70,000 a year, depending on your situation, like obviously being smart on your house is really important. Like certain things still stick, but then like right now, like I told, like when you hit about $100,000 of income, you need to implement what I call the $5 rule, which means if it's $5 or less, you don't waste any time thinking about it. Like you don't clip any coupons that are $5 or less, right? Because it's a waste of time at that point. Before that, it is good to save $5, but at some point, like the time value of money, like your time becomes way more valuable, and then as it keeps on going up, you got to start. You got to stop being a tightwad. Like you got to really start to say, like if you're making $200,000 a year, if you spend an extra $10,000 a year on junk, it doesn't matter. It's like there's almost no difference between the cost the effort that would take you to save that 10 grand is worthless. Like you might as well enjoy that 10 grand. Like you should start not caring about how much you spend as long as it's. I mean, if you spend an extra $50,000 a year, you can hurt yourself. But 10 grand goes a long freaking way, right? So it's like
some of the problems that I've made in my life is, as my income has increased, my lifestyle has also increased. And I've basically, throughout most of my career, my lifestyle has always matched my income level. And what I should have been doing is doing more like, okay, here's my lifestyle and here's my income. And as my income increases, I only adjust my lifestyle a little bit.
Exactly.
Just to be comfortable, just to be not in bad situations. And that would have allowed me to, save more, to have a better fallback, to have a larger savings account, to have more investments, to have whatever. But instead, I'm the typical first generation income and wealthy person in my family. I come from a family of farmers and relatively poor people, all things considered, and I'm doing extraordinarily well, and I don't know how to manage that money because I'm the first generation of people that have had to deal with this in my family, and it's a very different situation for us.
Well, that's the most common problem, right? That's like what you describe. In fact, I have a chapter in my book dedicated to exactly what you described, and the problem. And I had this problem like earlier on. Like I in the book I wrote about how like when I got a job, when I got a raise, the first thing I did, like if I got a $1,000 a month raise, is I said, I can spend $1,000 more a month.
Yep.
That's exactly what I thought, and that's what most people think. I thought, my car payment could go up. I'll divide this amongst $200 more to my car payment, $200 more to my rent, and then $200 more to entertainment or whatever, right? And then I'll still have a little bit left over. And that's the automatic thinking is as soon as you get a raise, then that's X dollars per month means that X dollars more that you can spend. And that, I mean, I'd say 90% of the U.S., right, of people I meet think exactly in those terms. Yep. And that's the opposite of the investor mindset, which is to say, no, I should reduce my expenses as much as possible. And then, it's like it's the freedom formula too. It's like if I could smack myself, back when I was just starting out and said, if I could say, look, here, you want to get free and be an entrepreneur, you want to be on your own, heck, you want to retire young. The simplest thing you can do that is reduce your expenses. If you can live on $1,000 a month, which I know some people that can, but if you can, you could live totally free on a very small business. Like you could retire very quickly. I mean, if you can live on $2,000 a month or whatever that number is, but there's a lot of people that have to live on $10,000 a month. And for them to retire, they have to really make a lot of money. They have to make it big. Their savings have to be huge. Like the smaller that amount is, so that's the key thing is
reduce your monthly expenses. Yeah. It's something that I've been learning in the last few years and really trying to do. And it's not. There's an important aspect of that as well. It's not okay. I've got a car payment and a house payment and credit card debt. Let me work on paying off my house because it's the biggest expense. That's actually backwards. It's okay, let me pay off my credit card first because I'm spending $250 a month on that, but I only have $5,000 on my credit card. So there's instant, $250 a month less that you have to pay. All right, now my car, I owe $12,000 on that. Let me pay off my car next, and there's $350 a month that I don't have to spend. Well, you've paid off your credit card, you've paid off your car now. You now have an extra $500 or $600 a month that you're not spending, that you're able to put into savings, that you're able to invest, that you're able to do whatever with. Pay off the things that are going to increase cash flow and reduce expenses first.
Yep. Have you ever played Cash Flow 101? Okay, so I think there's an iPad version now. It's Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
He made this board game called Cash Flow. But check it out on your iPad. I think they made it cheap. Like, it was $100 for this board game.
Right.
Like
Cash Flow. Buy this and I will have it.
Exactly. But I will teach you how to make money. Send me $100.
But it is a game where you basically start off with like a car payment, and then and then you like figure out how to you get these rental property purchase opportunities, and you basically, your goal is to get out of the rat race to get free, financially free. But it's a great game just for changing your mindset to think in those terms.
Nice.
But you play through that a few times, and then you figure it out, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, this applies to, like, I can apply these to real life. So
Nice.
Interesting.
So, Josh, we haven't heard from you. What's going on?
What's going on with Josh?
How's your billions of email subscribers?
Oh, yeah,
Seriously,
I pulled up my numbers
500,000 subscribers, and you're $500,000 of sales that you're going to do from that list.
So currently I'm sitting at 341,735 email addresses total.
Holy
that I've
crap.
collected. Yeah, so it definitely so we had the debate earlier about whether I should end it ahead of time, and it actually ended up, it wouldn't have mattered that much if I look. So basically the real frenzy was the 3 days, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday it started to drop off, and then by Friday, like I mean, if you look at the Google Analytics graph, it's like it's almost insignificant the amount of traffic that I'm getting now, but it's still still getting like 70 or 80 people on my site at all times.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's still
phenomenal, dude.
I would still pay for that.
It's not 750, so.
I've got 4 right now. 4.
Yes. So it's definitely kind of dwindled down a little bit, but it's still. I actually think that the people that I sense that the people I'm getting now might be better quality too, because it's less. It's not getting tweeted around quite as much, so probably there's probably less spam going on, and probably people are more interested now that are signing up. So we'll see. I'm not sure. So I checked on Damien, the guy I've been working with that wrote the plugin. He sent me a MySQL query to check the number of confirmed entries, because I can't export the CSV. It's too big.
Nice.
My server can't do it right now. So he rewrote the plugin code so that hopefully I'll be able to export when it's all done.
If not, you have MySQL access, so you'll be able to pull it.
I'll get it out somehow.
Take your server down, clone it to a bigger box.
Delete your production.
That's what I was going to say. Just production database, and you won't have to worry about it.
RM
clean up the email address until you're done with them.
So I'll see, but I'm definitely gonna do what we talked about last week, which is go ahead and work with Entreport to get the confirmed addresses in immediately, which will probably be 65,000 roughly, I'm gonna guess.
Holy crap.
And then probably do some experiments with the unconfirmed addresses.
Hold on 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay. How much is it going to cost me to put an ad in your email list?
Well, based on Peter Cooper charges, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of like $1,000 plus.
I think it's $800 right now for 65,000 subscribers on JS Weekly.
Yep. So
So
something
you'll
like
give me the friends and family discount, right?
that. We'll talk off the air. We'll negotiate.
The best things for us to do, honestly, that I think between us, like for these kind of deals, is to do affiliate type of things
Yeah.
because the thing is like most people would be willing to do affiliate type of things, but they don't know if it's going to be good for them. But we know that like our selling each other stuff will be good for all of us. So
Right.
like there is an intrinsic benefit. So that's
Right.
like if I would suggest that when we do advertisement type of stuff, we do affiliate things. Plus, it's non-taxable
Yeah.
too. So.
Although there's there's some argument to be made that that it's an easier conversion to go from email to email, which
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so it might be worthwhile for Derick to advertise his email list in my
Email list.
email newsletter. Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
So
interesting.
yeah, I got to chat with Noah Kagan this week. Did it was like an hour long interview, and
Yeah.
having it transcribed, so that'll be awesome. He's the guy
Nice.
behind AppSumo. That guy, he's very humble for what he's achieved. I mean, he is the guy who invented the Facebook status update. I mean,
Yeah.
that is Facebook.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. I mean, for most people, that is Facebook. He's.
I read an interesting story from him about him once where he talked about how arrogant he was when he worked at Facebook. And so I think his current demeanor and personality traits are very much him having learned the lessons of gone down that path.
But
Yeah.
also, when you don't have anything to prove to like that,
Right.
when you're in his position, you don't really have much to prove. You're kind of just having fun, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, so we talked about it was great. He actually asked me a lot of questions about how I've been building my list, and he said that he learned a few things from me. So that was, that was pretty cool. One thing I learned from talking to him, he's really good at asking questions in a way that actually gets good information out of people. So he asked me a couple times, just point blank, why aren't you using XYZ product that we sell?
Yeah.
But initially I started to feel defensive, and I was trying to make excuses, and then I was like, wait, no, he actually wants to know what I was thinking. So I told him
he's not trying to make a sale.
Yeah. He actually wants to know what my reason was for not doing it, so that he can improve his sales process.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have King Sumo giveaways, King Sumo headlines.
Oh yeah.
Which is a really nice plugin that I would like to try at some point. That rotates between different headlines. So you write 10 headlines, and it sees which ones do the best.
Right.
And I'd like to try that at some point.
It doesn't just track. It doesn't just do A/B testing to figure out which one is best. It puts the best one in play for you.
Yep.
So it automates the whole multivariate testing thing for your blog post titles. I was reading about it after I bought the giveaways plugin, and it looks freaking phenomenal.
Now, I'll tell you why I'm not using it, which is because I could never find the answer to this question. Maybe you guys know, but how does it, okay, so you tweet a blog post, right? Or you send out your headline, and then people come mostly based on that, right? Or maybe is it counting on search engine traffic picking it up? I don't know.
That's a good
how
question.
does it? I don't understand how changing it after the post is published has an effect on, or how much of an effect, and how that process works.
Yeah, I think it would depend on. Yes, that is a good question.
That is a very good question.
I think you need a certain level of traffic for it to be useful. BuzzFeed, I've learned, does this with every single blog post. They write 20 headlines for every single thing they post.
Wow. And then I guess they tweet the different headlines. Maybe that's
probably.
Yep. Yeah. So he asked me why I wasn't using that. So I initially just kind of hemmed and hawed and started making an excuse, and I was like, no, wait, okay, let me think about this. Why didn't I buy it? Oh yeah, I thought I don't have time to write that many headlines for my blog posts.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Yeah.
And so that's an actual useful objection that he could. He was able to draw that out of me. So that was pretty interesting. Just watching the way he did that. But yeah, we're talking about doing some kind of partnership. I'm actually thinking that I might try to pitch. I'm thinking I came up with a way to actually do an affiliate promotion for that plugin to my Sublime list, which I wasn't planning on doing because it doesn't seem like a good fit. But here's what I can do. I'm going to send out an email and say, guys, this contest like blew me away. It surpassed all my wildest expectations. I'm going to give away 2 extra Sublime licenses as a thank you for you guys.
I like it. Perfect.
Making it such a big success. By the way, if you have a blog and you're collecting email addresses, or you're not, you should be. Here's the plugin that I use to make this contest go, and and then put my affiliate code in there. Right. So it's relevant. I'm telling a little bit of the story of the giveaway. Giving them a little extra something with the with throwing a couple extra licenses to some folks, and so it doesn't come across as like just a blatant pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and you'll be making what $100 per transaction there, or?
Well, it'll be 50 because it'll be
because half of the
50 split. Yeah, it's a 50% discount, and then I get a 50%.
Still, $50 a transaction. I mean, if you have a list of like 70,000 people at the
if you get 1%,
right?
Right, I mean, and you might get 0.5% on something like this because because it's not an audience fit at all, right? It's like it's a blind luck audience fit. Like maybe some people have a list or are interested.
Yeah, and I did do the one I did an email a while back about just kind of that, telling my list like this is a business and I appreciate the support that you guys have given me, and then sent them. I actually directed people to my personal blog, and I got like 50 signups from that. So people are interested. There are some people that are interested in the business side of what I'm doing. So
and your idea of me advertising my list could be interesting as well, because clearly your list is full of software developers.
Right. Yep.
And my list is all about improving software developers' lives.
Right. Yeah, so what I'd probably do for something like that is I'd write an email that was about something JavaScript related for Sublime, and then I'd tie it in directly to, come up with a way to tie it directly to something that you're offering.
Yeah.
And Noah had said in our interview. Noah said that advertising. We'd had this debate back when I was talking about doing the Smashing Magazine ad. Right. But Noah said, yeah, email to email is a good move. Like, get advertising your giveaway or something in another email newsletter to get leads is a good way to go. Like, that works better than trying to advertise a product directly.
So probably what we'd want to do is advertise my Mastering This email course. So if you talk about JavaScript with Sublime and do syntax highlighting and things like that with JavaScript, then we can say, hey, and if you're into JavaScript, go get this.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Yep. So that was really cool. I'm always really nervous before these interviews, but Noah started off. He's like, Josh, you were like a celebrity around the AppSumo office. And like, he told me they were watching my stats like a stock ticker, which was awesome.
That's crazy.
Because they've got anonymous user stats, but there was like only one that was like,
Right. Only one is getting 1,000 signups an hour.
Yeah.
I wonder. Okay, so I wanted to dissect that a little bit. I'm sure he asked this question, like, why were you so successful when they have other people that are giving giveaways?
Right.
I mean, all you're giving away is a $60 license, right? And one of them. And you're not giving away a lifetime supply of Dropbox or anything like that.
Right.
And you don't have a huge list to start with. So, like, did you control the copy on your giveaway page? And did you write, like, some kind of compelling copy or headline?
I honestly don't think the copy was anything that spectacular. I literally threw this entire thing together in 2 hours. It was just kind of a whim. Like, I just wanted to get it done and see what happened. So I just kind of threw it together. Couple things I did. I think one thing I did that I think helped, I think I wrote a decent subject line for the confirmation email. So it said, confirm your entry, parentheses, and more chances to, and get more chances to win, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So so their default one didn't have that. I also rewrote the confirmation email to try to emphasize that point more. The share this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that helped. I think I mean, I do have a big enough of an audience to give it a good push. Like, I had 13K Twitter subscribers, and I actually sent out 2 emails because the first email I sent out to about 5,500 people had a broken link.
Yep.
I copy and pasted the markdown wrong, or my markdown was bad. So the link went out. It was broken. So then I sent out another one an hour later, and believe it or not, the open rate on the second one was higher.
Yeah.
So I got like a 41% on the first one and 42% on the second one. So yeah, pretty good click rate. I mean, it was like, I think I got like 900 some clicks on that second email.
Nice.
So I had enough going there to give it a good shove, and I think I mean, I knew, like, I've done these before, and I did get, I got the blog post for one up on Hacker News, so I knew that it had some viral potential.
Yeah. I guess also, your audience,
right?
too. Yeah.
The offer, it always comes back to the offer.
Well, but it's not that big. I mean, like I said, it's a $60 license. A lot of the people on your list already have Sublime Text license.
Yeah. It's in your face, though. It's a very because people use Sublime and it's free, like a free unlimited trial. But bloom, every few times you save something,
I see.
A register thing. Copy was actually, are you sick of that? The register Sublime, Sublime pop up. Here's how. I'll give you a license, kind of thing.
If I could get a free, I guess that makes sense.
So it's a pain, like it is definitely a pain point that's like in people's faces all day if they're using it and haven't paid for it.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out though. So I have my first coaching call today with John McIntyre. Yeah. And he was kind of like I sent him a couple updates through the week about my numbers, and he was pretty overwhelmed by that.
Yeah. Now he's like, man, how am I going to coach this guy? Damn it. Damn it.
How can I get this guy to teach me how to do that?
Well, it was really good though. We were going to start by talking about tracking because I don't have very good tracking. None of us have very good tracking.
I think I'm the worst.
He's got it to where he can look at a Facebook ad, a particular Facebook ad, and track revenue from that one ad. So he walked me through how he's doing that, but we're going to probably focus on. Yeah, he took me through his whole funnel, which was great, because I got to see like it's actually parts of it are actually really not at all sophisticated compared to what I've been looking for. Like the one of the biggies is like we've been using DPD, right, to sell our books. Yep. And that's been a huge pain point because as soon as you go to DPD shopping cart, all the data's gone. Like you can't track anything at that point. Even though supposedly they fixed that, it still's not working for me.
Is he just using a WordPress plugin?
He's using PayPal. His Buy Now button literally links directly to PayPal.
Does PayPal have shopping like a storefront?
Not a storefront, no. But just like you tell PayPal how much money you want, they pre-populate the dollar amount.
Oh, I see.
And then you can tell PayPal where to send people when they're done.
Yep.
So he's not actually even using any.
Well, how does he secure it?
He's not. Which I mean, honestly,
PayPal do all that.
What's that?
You let PayPal do all that.
Yeah, he's securing the money part, but
but he's not securing the download link.
No. You don't really. But I mean, honestly, my thing is a PDF. Anyone can send it to anybody.
Right.
There's nothing stopping anyone, and it's been posted on pirate sites. I know for a fact because somebody emailed me about it.
I had somebody told me about my book on a pirate site recently, and I got it taken down.
Yeah, it's like but you can't stop that. So.
Well, really, I stopped it with mine.
Well,
mine's 2 gigs to download.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I could just embed John's course, in my PDF.
I'm gonna go put the 42.zip in my PDF, and if you get a pirated version, it opens the 42.zip.
That's pretty genius though, because that makes a lot of sense. Because then,
really, I mean, seriously, our customer base is small, right? And it's not like I don't know, it's not like we're Amazon or something where people are just gonna pirate our stuff out the wazoo if they have the chance. It's kind of like a lot of this is on Goodwill already, and going with something like DPD just makes that a little bit harder. So I think I'm going to actually probably do this, do a similar thing where I just have, I'm announcing this on the podcast, but I probably
and here's
will
the
just
URL where I'm going to put the file.
No, I might try to secure it somehow with WordPress or something, but I'm not going to try. I think I'm going to go the other way and try to be more simple about how I'm doing it.
It makes a lot of sense.
Data.
It does.
I've been thinking about that actually. That the whole idea of the paywall type of, because like with my course, someone can get the link from someone else. I mean, DPD lets you put download limits, which I do utilize, but I haven't seen that like get violated very rarely, and I could tell it was the same person. So from the IP address. So I have thought about like the simplicity, because like my 10 steps to course, I want to sell that eventually. I've got a registration and login, but I thought maybe I should just like make it so simple. Like, and I thought like if people pirate the stuff, then are they going to pay you? Well, if people come to your site and they buy the thing, like the chances are they didn't get exposure from somewhere else, because we're not huge. Our market penetration is small, so it doesn't really matter. Like the people that actually make it to your site are probably, if they buy, they're not going to be able to find it somewhere else for free, or, you know. Or if someone shares it with their buddy, it's not like their buddy was going to, you're going to get their buddy as a customer anyway, probably.
Right, so, and they might buy something else from you in the future if they like. If they really like it.
It's interesting with Watch Me Code as well, because I know people are sharing my screencasts with coworkers. I mean, I get emails saying, "Hey, this is such a great video. I shared it with my coworkers at a lunch and learn, and we solved all these problems. Thank you so much." And you know, I hope that eventually those kinds of things will turn into additional subscribers. But if nothing else, then people start to know who I am and start to trust the content that I produce because their friends are sharing it with them, and it potentially grows my audience. I don't want that to be happening excessively. I have in my terms of service, you know, it's okay to share to help people solve problems. Just don't be giving people every copy of every one of my videos. You know, I don't want excessive amounts of pirating going on, but I'm okay with people sharing because it helps people solve problems and it helps people get introduced to me and what I produce and what I offer people.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go that way with it, just simplify things a lot. And Entreport will actually make a lot of this really easy. I can do one-click upsells. So basically what I need to do, so kind of my action steps here. So he asked me a lot of good questions, and the things I didn't have good answers for, we're trying to address. So, you know, I've never had a good handle on what my audience really wanted from me. You know, I wrote this book on a whim, and I've never felt like I had a strong pain point to sell against. So I'm going to do a survey a portion of my list to try to get a better handle on what types of things and what formats they like. And then I need to develop like a $7 to $20 product that will be small, something like you know, the top 25 Sublime plugins that you should be using. So, you know, something like that. And then so I'm going to have that. So that'll be my initial offering. Then I'm going to do a one-click upsell from that. So probably to try to initially, I'll probably sell my books as a bundle from that. So you know, you click on the $7 product. I offer you the $50 product for, you know, 25% off or something. So now I've taken my, you know, and a big chunk of those people will actually take that. So now I've taken my per customer sale, you know, way up. Right now it's like $17. So if I could put that up to $40 or $50, you know, that's big. And then long term, I'd like to develop an email, like a 30-day email course where I could really make a strong guarantee, like, you know, give me 30 days and I will teach you, you know, you'll be a Sublime Pro after 30 days or something like that. Because I can't do that right now with my book. Like, it's just kind of, it's helpful, it's good info, but I don't really feel like I have a strong promise that I can make about it. You'll know Sublime better after you read this.
And then that would be your expensive. That be $100 product or $150?
I don't know how much it would be. I'd probably start it out in the $50 range. and then see, probably test the pricing, test it at different price points, see how far I can take it. I could bundle that up with the books as well for an $80 product or a $90 product. So
yeah, it'd be interesting too to see what like if you do your survey too, you might want to figure out where your audience overlaps to, like what other thing you might be able to besides Sublime Text, like what's the biggest chunk that they have in common besides, because then that might give you some more options for creating bigger products.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. So that was my head was like exploding after the call this morning.
Yeah.
so that was good. And then I've like I mentioned in the email too, I've been looking at the managed hosting thing. That's the other thing I've been working on. So I did want to talk a little bit about that too. So for me, I'm just sick of running my own Linux server basically, and I feel like like some of the ones that I looked at, the Synergy, I think it's called, WP Engine, so that's like the market leader, but has gotten seriously trashed lately because their customer service has apparently gone down the toilet. They took a bunch of what's that?
I said that was their number one selling point.
Yes, it was. Yeah, they could be an anti-sponsor maybe, but yeah, I read an article about that, like what happened, and they basically got a bunch of VC funding in January and hired a ton of people, and like a lot of their support people now are not pros. So I'm not really looking at them, but I am looking at Synergy and then Page.ly, I think Page.ly. Those are the two.
What about WordPress.com?
No.
WordPress.com doesn't let you have plugins. Basically, they don't let you. Yeah, they don't let you install
different software. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are different than these are. I think they're pretty different than like a Bluehost. Yeah. In that they're dedicated. They're dedicated WordPress people. The Synergy people are actually the people that wrote the Genesis theme, which I'm using now and really like. And then Derick, you're using that too. And they seem like they're really sharp. And they do, so they run their own sites on this stuff, like copyblogger.com.
Right.
Runs on Synergy. And then, John, you were asking about traffic spikes in our email thread. And
exactly.
Yoast.com is like a big SEO site. They're ranked like 3,400 in Alexa. So their average traffic is probably what we would consider a spike.
Right.
And they're running on Synergy now.
But on what, like, see, that's the thing is like, okay, so Bluehost and HostGator, cheap hosting, great for someone just starting out with a blog, right? Like not a lot of traffic. And I had my site on Bluehost, right? And it did not last just because they've got like 20 other sites on that machine, right? For $7 a month, you're going to get what right? So that doesn't work, right? But the DigitalOcean side, the reason why I went with that was because I can basically, with a $10 a month server, I can hit my standard traffic, and with a $20 a month server, I can handle spikes perfectly fine. I can set up my own caching and using Varnish and Nginx on there to make things be more efficient on that server already, and then I've got full control if I need to do something else. And for $20 a month, and it'll scale up. Like if my traffic increased further, which
it comes down to the question of which is more valuable, your time or your money.
Well, but that's
and Josh is telling us that his time is more valuable.
Well, but when's the last time you logged into your DigitalOcean box?
This week, or not digital.
It's been killing him this week.
I don't have. Yeah, I spent a half an hour or an hour fixing it the other day when it went down from all the traffic I was getting. And I feel like there's a bunch of stuff about it that's not quite right.
Right.
That like I get people that tell me like, oh, I submitted a comment and it didn't like I got this weird page, like I went to this weird blank page. Like there's clearly things that are wrong with my caching setup that need to be fixed. I get periodically people will email me and say they got a 503 from the varnished cache, and like even when it's not under load.
Right.
So it's like clearly there's things that are not configured right. I periodically have to go in there, like I'll get a denial of service attack, and I'll just have to go in there and ban the IP addresses. I have to do the patching myself. There's some security things that I won't talk about that I should be doing that I'm not.
I guess that's true. Okay.
There's probably I have a list of probably like 10 or 20 little things like that that might take me. They might be really easy, or they might take me a couple of hours, and I don't know that I've ever got it right.
Well, the question is, what level do you need on one of these other systems in order to be equivalent to a $20 DigitalOcean box? That's that you're only running on.
Right.
And that's my question, is because heck, if it's a difference, if I can move my blog over to one of these hosting services or multiple sites on there, and I'm going to pay like $100 a month, and it's going to be better than DigitalOcean as far as traffic and page speed, then sure, yeah. But I have a feeling that if I wanted to get a $20 DigitalOcean box at one of these WordPress specialized managed places, that I'm going to be paying $300 to $500 a month.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that high. I'm looking at it's like Web Synergy, I think, is there. Web Synthesis. I've been saying that wrong all this time. Yeah, it's Synthesis.
Web Synthesis?
Yeah. So their plan, they've got they have a $24 or $27 plan, I think, that is just the $27 starter plan, which is basically shared hosting. And they only put, from what I understand, 10 sites on each box for that. So they're not 100. You're not sharing space with 100 sites. And then the next one up is the $97 plan, and that one is 20,000 page views a day. That's what they're saying there. I don't know what would happen if I had 200,000 like I did.
Yeah.
But I think at that level, the second pricing level, I'm pretty sure that's a VPS, and you can do 2 sites, and then you can do additional sites on top of that for a small additional fee. So it might be like $120 a month to have 5 websites running on a VPS with them, fully managed by them, and presumably optimized and everything.
I mean, if you get to a certain size, right, of profit that you're making, it might make more sense. But I don't know. In your situation, I can't see you spending like a couple $100 a month on server hosting.
So this is the exact same problem that I have with SignalLeaf, though. I mean, I could get rid of a lot of the services that I'm using and probably cut my monthly expenses in half if I would put everything on DigitalOcean boxes. I'm not going to do that. It's far more costly for me to do that because of the amount of time that I would have to invest in it.
At first, to get it, assume that you're not going to spend any time. Assume you're going to hire someone to set this up for you.
And then it's going to be even more expensive because I know how much it costs to hire people to do this stuff. I'm the guy that used to get hired to do this stuff.
No, but Linux admins, I mean, to set up this stuff, not writing any code, just it's not going to be that expensive. I mean, even if you spent $2,000 to get yourself set up, you'd make that back in like a year, maybe 2 years. Tops,
yeah, that's a long time. But then there's going to be ongoing. You're going to have to pay that person an ongoing fee. There's going to be a retainer or something for them to do.
Yeah, I don't see that you're getting. I mean, when you're talking about like the $97 a month plan, right?
Right.
Daily traffic. This recommendation is 20,000 page views.
Right.
I've blown past 20,000 page views in a day. Multiple occasions. And the problem is, if we're 20,000 page views as a steady stream, that's one thing. But when I blow past 20,000 page views, I don't do it in 24 hours. I do it in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that means that I can't do the $97 plan because it's gonna go to its need. I'm gonna lose the benefit of the Hacker News hit. Right, so that puts you back at the $147 plan, which that'll probably handle a Hacker News spike based on this. But then you're paying $147 for a server.
that's what I think I'm actually going to talk to them
Yeah.
and find out what would happen
Right.
if I had, like I had this. I mean, now my site is not the server that I have now is nothing. It's 512 megs of RAM, and I don't know how much CPU, but it wasn't much, and I might be like a 1 gig CPU, and I've got Varnish set up on it poorly, and it handled 750. So I kind of think that the $97 a month plan probably would be better than what I have now.
Well, is it a dedicated server? I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
right?
The
It is
$97 one, I'm pretty sure, is a VPS. Yeah,
that they're just
they
adding
manage.
that they're
Yes.
managing.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but yeah, dedicated VPS. So under architecture, if you look on that page, the only one that doesn't have dedicated is the $27 a month one.
Oh, I see. Okay. See, I mean, it honestly, well, I'll be curious to hear what you find out, because like on the advanced plan it says 5+ sites,
Right.
right, on all of those. So like at $147 a month, like I would even splurge for the $300 a month if I need. I mean, but let's say like $150 a month, right? If I can host all my sites on there, and only one of them really gets the big traffic, but then and it's going to be faster than what I have now, right? Then it's a difference between what am I paying DigitalOcean, like maybe I'm paying them like $30 or $40 a month, I think, for the different, because I have several VPSs set up, and this 147, I would gladly pay that if someone else is going to host it, if it's going to be faster, if it's going to be secured and taken care of. But I just think that the performance is not going to be. I mean, I don't know. It all depends on. I guess you'd have to talk to him. If this is a dedicated VPS though with these stats, then that's comparable. Well, what does it compare? Like, what's the DigitalOcean VPSs that we have now?
They're probably like 1 gig of memory. I haven't looked at them recently.
Here, let me log in, because this is theoretical, right? If these guys are good, they should be able to take the same box, same configuration that we have on DigitalOcean, and they should be able to do better with it. It should be more efficient because they've right. So okay, so my DigitalOcean box, my big one, is 2 gig of RAM.
Okay.
30 gig SSD, which they don't say that they have an SSD, do they? They don't say they have SSD, so they might not have SSD. I mean, that's not a deal breaker. And then they have a monthly bandwidth of 1.5 terabyte.
Right, which I can't imagine coming anywhere near. Oh, you mean so that's DigitalOcean?
No, that's the other. Like
Okay.
DigitalOcean has no bandwidth.
Right. Yeah. Well, I haven't. I mean, even with all the traffic that I got, I've not come. I have a relatively small, maybe like 100 gigs or something for Linode, and I'm not anywhere near that. So.
And then you compare that to Signal.
Yeah.
If I transferred 5 terabytes of data last month.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, comparison, like apples to apples, like as far as the box, assuming that this web synthesis does have a dedicated VPS box that's just your machine, then the equivalent DigitalOcean plan, like the closest one would be the 4 gig, 2 CPUs, which is basically it does have 4 terabyte transfer.
Okay.
So it's a lot more terabyte transfer on the DigitalOcean side, but it's $40 a month versus $150 a month, which that's not a huge deal, except I'm just worried about the amount of data transfer. I mean, really, I guess if you have to compare, maybe the better comparison is the $300 per month plan that they have versus the DigitalOcean. Let's see, this would be basically the $80 a month plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they have a what I'm thinking about doing is they have a you can pay them a one-time fee to set up your site, and then they have a money-back guarantee. So I'm going to find out if that includes the setup fee, and if it does, I think I'm just going to have them migrate one of my sites over, see how I like it for a month or so, and then make the call. Because Yeah,
But see,
it would be
you're
a
not
pain,
going to know until you hit
yeah,
until you get a
that's
big spike. That's the thing is.
right. That is true.
I mean, and then on the DigitalOcean side, for $300 a month, you can get a 32 gigabyte of RAM, 12 CPU, 320 gigabyte SSD disk with 7 terabyte transfer.
Well, if somebody will set this all up for me and I don't have to do it myself, and it will be, fairly well optimized and glitch
That's the
free,
thing that we
I
just
would
keep
be
coming
happy.
back to.
Yeah.
It's time versus money, which
Yeah.
is more valuable to you.
Well, I don't think
Time
it's
versus money versus and performance too is a factor.
yeah.
Well,
See,
the performance goes into both time and money because you either spend money to get performance or you spend time to get performance. It's always time versus money.
yeah.
True.
I don't know. I would suspect that that you could hire someone, a Linux administrator who just knows the ins and outs of Nginx and Varnish and WordPress to probably get you set up and to maintain your systems for a lot less than $100 a month, right? Because I mean, essentially, the premium you're
Not a
paying,
chance.
right, is $100 a month.
Yeah. Well.
You would have to
Yeah.
hire somebody not in the U.S. to do that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. And
Philippines or India or whatever.
I'm
Right.
very hesitant to just hand over all of my. I'm not going to hire somebody off of Odesk
Right.
and hand over all my server admin credentials to them.
Yeah.
I've thought about, and I'd probably what I'd want to do if I did go the DigitalOcean route is set up several different boxes. So I have Sublime Text Tips on one site or on one box.
That's
So I'd
what
end
I
up with
have.
multiple boxes.
Yeah, I've
So
got
it wouldn't
3
be-
boxes.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like one server. It would probably be 3 or 4. So I could,
I do one WordPress install per DigitalOcean instance.
mhm.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
I've
well,
got
no,
all
I've
mine
got
running.
3, but
Yeah, right now I'm running all of them. I have like 10 or 12 sites running on one tiny little server. So
yeah.
that needs to change. And I need to get. So I've been thinking about hiring someone to migrate all of those to DigitalOcean, and now I'm thinking, well, why don't I just, if all I really care about is WordPress, why don't I just move to somebody who's an expert in WordPress?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn. I mean, part of it too is I'm like, man, this is. There's certain things that it's valuable to have the expertise yourself in, and I feel like
Right.
the amount of WordPress sites that we set up and the amount of stuff that we do with it, there's some value there as well. But I don't know.
It depends on who you are and what your focus is, though. Like me as a developer, yeah, it totally makes sense for me to be able to do all this stuff myself, to stand up my own servers, to run those. It's part of being a SaaS developer, an entrepreneur that's building software and hosting these things and managing this stuff. If Josh is moving into marketing, there is no overlap. The Venn diagrams are a mile apart between knowledge of marketing and knowledge of system administration.
Well, but of WordPress, I mean, is definitely. I mean, you're
how to
using a lot of
use
WordPress
and how to configure it from the actual content management side. Yeah, totally. You need to know how to do that. It has nothing to do with system administration and performance and networking and Linux stacks and all that stuff. I mean, I'm convinced Josh is going down the right path just because of where your focus is in what you're trying to do.
Yeah. I guess
I'm also convinced that I'm going down the right path as a developer.
The question you have to ask them, and if they can answer this question, this shows that they have enough technical know-how, right?
Okay.
Which is you basically have to say, look, if I get front page of Hacker News with a post of mine, right. And I am on X server that, what will happen?
Right.
Yeah, actually, what I'll ask them is, I did a giveaway last week, and I got 200,000 page views in 2 days. What will happen on each of these plans?
Yeah. And tell them it's not your regular traffic, right, obviously, but if you're on one of these machines and that happens, because the worst thing that could possibly happen is, you cannot deliver the page views, and so now your whole thing is going to get, it is screwed up. Especially if you're on Hacker News front page, you're screwed because you're just going to drop down you only had one chance. I mean, with the contest, you have a little bit more because it's like it's living. It's the time to live is a little longer, but
Right.
Yeah, the whole point here is to prevent your site from not responding again.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely bad last week. I mean, it was not. So I'm not really convinced that an extra 500 megs of RAM would have really, or an extra couple, maybe even gig and a half of RAM would have made a huge difference, given the traffic I was getting. So I don't know.
This is another one of those things that, like I was just talking about, like of being penny wise and pound foolish. Like, if you're making enough money, right, then the difference between paying $50 a month and $500 a month is it doesn't even matter. Who cares, right? But if you're not making a lot of money, the difference between $50 and $500 a month is huge. Right.
That's huge for me.
Yeah, and what I'm looking at is I'm looking at, okay, I have 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
And where am I going to put those 15 hours? I now have 341,000 email subscribers that I need to cultivate, and I don't want to be thinking about
a lot more worth your time.
Yeah, my stupid server.
But start churning the money because I mean, think about it just putting my Josh hat on right now. I'm thinking you're paying $300 a month for Entreport. If you pay $300 a month for server hosting, and if you pay for all the other for the landing page thing and for all this, I mean, you could be into it like with your bookkeeper and everything. You could be into it you could easily hit $1,000 a month being into it, which now with your income goals and whatnot, it just pushed you further away from being.
Yeah, I would not be. Yeah, if they can't, I think for me, if they can't handle my traffic on the $97 a month plan, I'm probably gonna look for some other option.
Right.
I'm willing to go up to that right now to get rid of this pain, but I'm not willing to spend $300 a month. That's just not. I'm not. I'm not life hacker.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, the other possibility too is like if the $300 a month plan is so good, right? Then maybe we can. How many websites can we put on there? Maybe we can together, like some of us could, like we can decide or pool them, or but my main point is just don't like over like if this takes off, if you have 70,000 people on your list and you're making the kind of money that I think you should be able to make from that list, the hell, it's not going to matter. Then it doesn't matter if you spend $500 a month on hosting. But at this point, you're not making that money, so. You like sticking with the DigitalOcean route or at the max $97 a month, I think is a smart move. I just don't want to see you get because once you start paying, it's so hard to cut the services back. Because like if you said, man, if I'm at like $1,000 short of my goal every month, but I've got all this crap that I am paying for, and you wanted to scale it back, it'd be much more difficult to do.
Right.
So.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to be a pioneer and possibly come back with arrows in my back on this one. See what happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Well, it's good. I mean, I want to see, and like you said, like if it turns out to be really good, then heck, then I'm not totally opposed to doing it myself. So.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We should wrap this up.
Oh yeah. I didn't realize the time is. All right. I'll talk to you guys next. I'll be actually in California next week, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Kansas. I should be able to do this on Friday next week. I'll email you guys on the mailing list and let you know if that changes.
Sweet.
But I'll have time. It's just a question of what day and when.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
We'll figure it out then.
All right.
All right.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derick as we figure it out. We are the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight